Hello and welcome everyone to our enlightening journey on this podcast. I'm Paritosh Pathak, your host and navigator through the journey of networking that is not only delicate, but often powerful beyond our understanding. As a seasoned business networking coach and a speaker, I've often encountered a question that has been echoing in the corridors of busy professional lives forever. Why is it so hard to find the time for networking? Today, we're not merely brushing the surface of this question, but we're diving deep into its core. In our busy lives, where each passing minute brings in new tasks and responsibilities, networking just seems like a distant dream. No matter what we do, it keeps slipping from our hand, just like sand. But is it really the lack of time? Or is there a deeper, unexplored reason behind this challenge? In this episode, we'll dissect this puzzle. We'll unravel why networking, despite its undeniable value in forging the paths of success, often ends up being sidelined. We'll explore those common stumbling blocks, the misconceptions, the myths that surround networking, the psychological barriers that quietly shape our views and our decisions. Imagine, just for a moment, the countless opportunities that might be passing by right this very moment, simply because we believe there's not enough time to reach out and connect. Imagine all the possibilities that are missed, all due to this elusive time factor. But worry not, my friends, because this episode is not about stressing over the lost opportunities. Rather, it's about transforming our approach, about finding those hidden pockets of time in our day-to-day life that can become the enablers of meaningful connections. The first segment of this podcast is called the Time Dilemma in Networking. Let's begin with a fundamental question. Why networking often ends up becoming an afterthought, despite us wanting to network, reach out, have access to good people who would be willing to meet us as well. We somehow just keep procrastinating networking. Let's unfold this together. I want you to think about your typical day. How does it start? Perhaps starts with a rush of messages and emails. You get up and you start thinking about what's there in your day, the meetings and the commitments that you have, the things that you have to do. Perhaps you worry about the things that you've missed that couldn't get done. And there's always that feeling in your head that something is not right and you're perhaps running behind things. Right? Now, in this lineup of tasks and responsibilities, networking, well, clearly that would feel like a luxury to anyone, a someday task that never quite finds its today. But it's not that we don't want to network. There's a lot going on in our lives. We've got personal priorities, professional priorities. We've got new projects. We're running from pillar to post, sometimes running for survival, sometimes running behind deadlines. And in all of this commotion that's going on in our life, we've let ourselves believe that it's okay to postpone networking. But why is this the case? Is it our perception of time, or is it the perceived lack of it? We've started to see our day as a pie chart. Each part of a day is allocated to a priority, a commitment to be met, and anything that is not urgent is often put on hold, sidelined. And networking, because it's often seen as a non-urgent activity, it is not, but because it is seen, it fails to claim the slice of pie. Another reason is the myth surrounding networking. One such myth is that effective networking requires huge chunks of time. You will have to invest a lot of time to travel, meet people, do it again and again. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. Networking can be as simple as making a phone call, quick phone call, right? A brief LinkedIn message to someone, an email to say hello. It doesn't really have to be a grand, time-consuming gesture or cluster of strategies. My own story is not different. I remember many phases in my life and my career when I felt completely busy. I wanted to network, but I couldn't find the time. I knew that I was missing something. I had that voice at the back of my head telling that I need to be out there connecting with people, but still just couldn't get to it. One big realization changed the game for me, and that was that networking doesn't work when it's an isolated task. It doesn't have to be a thing that we do when everything else is in place. But it works when it becomes part of our daily lives. So I started quick catch-ups whenever possible. When I'm meeting someone and after that meeting there were 5 minutes available to catch up with someone, I would do that. I started sending emails and messages just to say hello to people. Quick phone calls to stay connected. All of these small actions became powerful networking acts, and the results were phenomenal. But these challenges, they aren't unique to me. This is the story of many of us out there right now. Some time ago, I met Priya. Priya is a project manager in a fast-paced tech company. Her day is packed with meetings, deadlines, managing her teams. Priya understands the value of networking. She wants to do it. She wants to prioritize about it. She hears people in her company mention the value of networking in career growth and success. But by the time it is the end of the day for Priya, she's exhausted. And the idea of networking, a catch-up, attending an event is way too overwhelming for her. Now, in case of Priya, it's not about finding the time, it's about the energy. And this scenario is all too common. Many professionals juggle demanding careers and personal commitments. And networking feels like another task in an already overflowing list. Another person I was speaking to recently is Arjun. And Arjun is an entrepreneur. Now, Arjun has the flexibility that Priya lacks because he has his own setup. But he faces a different challenge. He doesn't know where to start. For Arjun, the vast world of networking seems daunting. He attends events, goes and meets people, but feels that he's not able to connect meaningfully. Now, both Priya and Arjun's story highlight a crucial aspect, that it's not just the lack of time, it's also knowing how to use it effectively. It's about overcoming the mental barriers. And to do that, we have to stop thinking that networking is an additional burden and rather start thinking that it's an integral part of our professional growth. Now, these stories might sound familiar to you. We've all been in Priya or Arjun's shoes at some point in time. So the key question is, how can we navigate these challenges? How do we make networking a natural and valuable part of our hectic lives? It's clear that many of us face similar challenges in networking. But what if I told you that there's a way to transform these challenges into opportunities? And that's why I want to take a minute or two and invite you to a unique and powerful workshop that can revolutionize your approach to networking. This workshop is titled The New Rules of Professional Networking, and especially designed to address the very challenges we have been discussing right now. It's not just another networking event, mind you. It's an interactive and practical session where you learn to overcome the common obstacles and enhance your networking skills effectively. In this workshop, we'll dive into the strategies that fit into the busiest of our schedules. We'll tackle everything from leveraging your existing network to mastering the art of digital networking. You'll leave from here equipped with tools and tactics that are immediately applicable in your world, helping you turn every interaction into a meaningful connection. I genuinely believe that this has the power of making a significant difference in your professional life. To find out more and to register, please visit www.networkingsuccess.in. I encourage you not to miss this chance to elevate your networking skills to the next levels. Remember, spaces are limited, and I'd love for as many of you as possible to benefit from this opportunity. So please do check it out soon. I'm excited about the prospect of meeting you at this workshop and networking together. The second myth is that networking can only happen at events. A lot of people think that in order for them to network, they need to be attending events and conferences. The bigger, the better. And they'll have to join networking platforms. A lot of platforms are out there today that invite people and enable networking opportunities. Now, let's understand the role of these conferences and platforms very quickly. Are they good? Absolutely. It is good to be going to these events and conferences and attending them. But is it must? Absolutely not. We have to understand that an opportunity to network exists every single day around us. It could be in shape of a conversation with a colleague, just asking what's going on, going a little beyond work, checking up on people through phone calls, connecting with long lost friends, through messages, quick LinkedIn message to someone you had met a long time ago but haven't stayed in touch with. This casual, organic approach to networking can often have unexpected, fruitful connections. I run a webinar called Activate Your Network time to time. In that webinar, I give an activity to people where I ask them to pick up the phone and call the people that they've been thinking about calling for a long time. I ask them to call them now. Many of them come back and report that while they had just called to say hello to the person, they ended up getting new business opportunities. Now, the idea here is not for you to run after opportunities. The idea is very simple, that when you're reaching out and connecting with people, taking small steps, amazing things could still happen. You don't really have to be at big events. Which brings us to myth number 3, that networking is only effective when done in person. A lot of people procrastinate networking because they keep waiting for an opportunity to go and meet someone in person. Now let's understand this. You have a finite amount of time in your day. Even if across 365 days you are meeting people, you'll still not be able to meet more than 1,000 odd people. I know this seems like a vast number, but it's not going to happen. You're not even going to get close to that. You've got other things to do. Okay. And this is where the role of virtual networking, online networking, the networking platforms come in. You can utilize these platforms. You could right now go on to your LinkedIn, open up the messenger, send a message to someone that you have not met in a long time and just say hello and say, hey, long time, just reaching out to say hi, hope everything is well, what have you been up to? When you start to utilize these networking platforms for networking, or these online platforms for networking, you will be able to increase the efficiency of your networking significantly. No denying that the impact of every conversation there is going to be less, but that's better than zero. Now, the best strategy would be that you do meet in person. I'm not asking you to stop doing that. You do meet the people that you can meet in person, but at the same time, start networking online. Combine these two. Which actually brings us to the next myth. Perhaps one of the most dangerous one. Thinking that you can start networking anytime. Now let me warn you, this can be a trap. Well, most probably is going to be a trap that's not going to work in your favor. Now, networking is most effective when done continuously and as early as possible in your career and your business. It's a cumulative process where the benefits grow over time. The more you network, the better the results. I've seen this over and over again, that when people start networking early, in the early stages, they don't see that many results. But as the time goes on and as they start networking, the results that they get from networking sometimes astonishes themselves. Right? So whether it is you meeting people at virtual events, whether it is offline, whether it is coffee catch-ups, what you need to be doing is start as early as possible, and please stay away from another trap that exists within this one. The moment we talk about people starting networking early, they start going back into the past and they start thinking, oh my God, I've lost so much time already. Stay away from that. What's gone is gone. You can't do anything about it. But even if you start today, it'll give you a strategic edge, because there's still a lot of people who are not taking action. And you, starting today, can change your game, right? Now, it is essential to watch out for these myths, all of these, right? Else they become the reason that we don't do what we must be doing. There's one conversation that we need to have at this point in time that's absolutely essential, which is turning intention into action. We can talk all about networking, but till the time we don't take action, nothing's going to happen. And one of the most important things in the world of networking you can do is prioritize networking. Unless you prioritize, networking just won't happen. It's essential to know the role that networking plays in your world. That becomes essential in prioritizing it. And also you need to stop avoiding listening to the voice at the back of your head that is telling you how important it is. Now, how do you start? You start small. You focus on what you can do and don't operate in extremes. One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen people make is that when they start networking, they go to extremes. They either go straight away join networking platforms. Unfortunately, many of them are not ready for it, or they do nothing. People want to attend events, etc., because people think networking is happening there. Don't operate in extremes. You got to ask yourself, what is that I can do today and improve my networking game by just 1 to 3%, and just do that? So I'm asking you, what can you do today without changing your schedule, without making big adjustments to your calendar? What steps can you take today? The first segment of this podcast is called the Time Dilemma in Networking. Let's begin with a fundamental question. Why networking often ends up becoming an afterthought, despite us wanting to network, reach out, have access to good people who would be willing to meet us as well. We somehow just keep procrastinating networking. Let's unfold this together. I want you to think about your typical day. How does it start? Perhaps starts with a rush of messages and emails. You get up and you start thinking about what's there in your day, the meetings and the commitments that you have, the things that you have to do. Perhaps you worry about the things that you've missed that couldn't get done. And there's always that feeling in your head that something is not right and you're perhaps running behind things. Right? Now, in this lineup of tasks and responsibilities, networking, well, clearly that would feel like a luxury to anyone, a someday task that never quite finds its today. But it's not that we don't want to network. There's a lot going on in our lives. We've got personal priorities, professional priorities. We've got new projects. We're running from pillar to post, sometimes running for survival, sometimes running behind deadlines. And in all of this commotion that's going on in our life, we've let ourselves believe that it's okay to postpone networking. There's one conversation that we need to have at this point in time that's absolutely essential, which is turning intention into action. We can talk all about networking, but till the time we don't take action, nothing's going to happen. And one of the most important things in the world of networking you can do is prioritize networking. Unless you prioritize, networking just won't happen. It's essential to know the role that networking plays in your world. That becomes essential in prioritizing it. And also you need to stop avoiding listening to the voice at the back of your head that is telling you how important it is. Now, how do you start? You start small. You focus on what you can do and don't operate in extremes. One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen people make is that when they start networking, they go to extremes. They either go straight away join networking platforms. Unfortunately, many of them are not ready for it, or they do nothing. People want to attend events, etc., because people think networking is happening there. Don't operate in extremes. You got to ask yourself, what is that I can do today and improve my networking game by just 1 to 3%, and just do that. So I'm asking you, what can you do today without changing your schedule, without making big adjustments to your calendar? What steps can you take today? Perhaps you could start with your existing network and not straight away go to people that you don't know. That's who you're going to meet at these events, etc. Reconnecting with the people that you already know doesn't require extensive effort. And think about it. Is it true that there's massive potential in your existing network? If you were to reach out to people, revive your relationships, amazing things could happen. Now, a quick phone call is something that you can do today. Stop over for a cup of tea on the way to wherever you're going. Nurture the relationships. Ask yourself, how can I add value into the life of the person that I'm meeting? Now, all of this is going to be useless unless we do not put things into action. I'm sure this is not the first time that you're thinking about putting networking into action. But a lot of people out there keep waiting for the perfect moment, perfect event, perfect opportunity, the perfect message, the perfect introduction, right? The right event to attend. Now, this thinking is a trap that we need to push ourselves out of. It is the action that will propel us into success. The key is to stop overthinking and start doing. So, send that message now. Make that phone call today. Attend that event this week. Every moment that you're spending in hesitation is an opportunity missed. Consistent action in networking is the key, and it's about creating a rhythm in your networking efforts. Regularly dedicating small pockets of time, as small as 5 to 10 minutes to networking activities, can lead to significant progress over time. And the more you engage, the more natural it becomes. And the more you network, the more you grow. Let's go to our next section, Experts' Insights. In this section, we're going to look at what are the research and studies that have been done in this area and what can we learn from them. There are two particular studies I want to bring out. One is the study of sociologist Mark Granowatter, and another one is by Harvard Business Review. Mark conducted a study called The Strength of Weak Ties. The result of the study challenged the social norm around networking, the norm that said that the value lies in our close ties, close connections. His study identified that our weak ties, the relationships that we are not very well connected with, we usually call them acquaintances, tend to bring in a lot more value into our networking journey than close ties. And this makes sense because close ties typically would have already brought what they could have brought to our life, number one. Number two, our close ties are very few in number, but our weak ties are very vast. So if you were to factor Mark's study into our networking strategy, it would make a lot of sense for us to start reaching out and connecting with people who we know, but we do not yet have a strong relationship with. The value that can bring is significant because those people have networks, information, opportunities that we do not have access to right now. And keeping that in mind, that we've already discussed that we can use something called micro networking, it's really easy to start connecting with such people. The second study of Harvard Business Review was in the area of online networking. Now, the Harvard Business Review study brought out the fact that the online networking can be as effective as offline networking when done well and consistently. The study established the role of staying connected with people and the role that technology played. And that brought out a completely different perspective into making networking effective by using the online digital platforms, because they can extend our reach, provide new avenues for connection that are both time efficient and wide ranging. Now, combining both these studies, we understand that it's important to prioritize networking, give time to strengthen our weak ties, and it is possible to network more while spending less time using the online methods. As I was planning to record this podcast, I wanted to reach out to my listeners, to my network, and ask, what did they think about networking? So I went on to LinkedIn, I put up a post, and I asked people for their comments and their ideas, their thoughts on what networking means to them. And here are the answers that we got. Yuvan Mahajan said, networking is an extension of your own approach and attitude towards life, extension of your own thoughts and interest. It's a quality of embracing people which can complement you and vice versa. It's inclusiveness. Pretty interesting. Natasha Bhardwaj said networking is about helping the community and getting help, expanding the horizons of your strengths to limitless. Okay? Chakravarti, who's a student of mine, said networking to me is about building genuine connections, fostering relationships, and creating a mutually beneficial community. It goes beyond the exchange of business cards. It's about cultivating a network where collaboration, support, and knowledge sharing thrive. Okay? Chakravartin, who's partner of Chakravarti, common names, similar names, right, said, great initiative, looking to your podcast. Networking to me means building meaningful connections that foster growth and collaborations. Krishnamurthy, another student of mine, codenamed Kittu, says networking means becoming a sought-after person, which is very interesting. We'll dive into this. Right? Shivangi Tripathi says, to me, it's about shifting the focus from myself and genuinely being present with those I come in contact with, whether online or offline. Now, Shivangi, this is amazing that you're including online in this. Getting to know people, understanding their perspectives, learning new things about the world through them, right? And she continues saying that you don't have to worry about building solid relationships when you're genuine. Sanjay Seth says, hey Paritosh, to me networking means creating genuine connections, learning from each other. It's like two-way street where we exchange ideas and support. Excited for your podcast. Coming out soon, Sanjay. And Ruchi says, networking to me is about building genuine connections that transcend business benefits. It goes beyond business benefits. It's about learning from others, sharing knowledge, mutually growing professionally, personally. Himanshu Bursania says, networking is activating my network. At the end, my network is my net worth. Now, it's very clear that from these, people are giving a lot of value to networking. Then why is that despite so much of value being assigned, or at least the importance of networking being understood, why is still networking being sidelined? This is a very important question, and our next section is going to throw some light on this too. Welcome to a crucial segment in this podcast, overcoming psychological barriers. In the next few minutes, we'll explore two mental blocks that often hinder effective time management in networking, and we will provide strategies to overcome these barriers. Let's dive into these psychological aspects that can impact our networking efforts. There are two big mental blocks, psychological barriers that come in our way. The first one is thinking, I am too busy and I don't have time for networking. The fact might be that you are busy, and a lot of people are busy with good reasons. But networking is essential for your success. So, what is that you can do? The first and foremost is you have to reframe the role of networking in your life and in your success. You need to start looking at what benefits could networking bring to you, staying connected, building relationships, building a strong positive network that can open doors for you? What are the values that it can bring for you? And two, what impact not networking could create in your world? I call it loss awareness. It's absolutely essential to be aware of what is the pain you could end up feeling and what joy awaits you ahead. You are busy, absolutely. But it is also your responsibility to find those small opportunities to network. We have discussed these strategies before in this podcast, that you can start identifying those smaller pockets of time in your schedule, which could be, once again, at the risk of repeating, quick phone calls, LinkedIn messages, reach outs, and if possible, of course, deeper things, going and attending events, etc. But you can't limit yourself just because you think you're busy. The barrier number 2, fear of rejection. Now, fear of rejection is a feeling that our efforts might not be reciprocated. So many times, people think about picking up the phone and calling someone, and they keep it down without even dialing the number because they think the other person will ask, what work do you have? And then what will I say? And what if I say I'm calling you casually? And they say, oh, okay. And their intent is not reciprocated. And especially when these kind of conversations come of calling a person of different gender or different hierarchy, these mental blocks, these fear of rejection kicks in. Now, there are 2 ways to overcome this. Very powerful ways. Number 1, make the conversations about the people that you are interacting with and not about you. You need to know that when you talk to people about them, they would want to talk. And the moment you talk about you, the guards would come up, because we all have this fear of being sold to. We think that the other person's calling us to get something from us. So when you reach out to people and you have conversations about them, the barriers, their fears start to go down and they reciprocate, they respond. That's number 1. Make conversations about the people that you're talking to, about them. And number 2, understand that rejection is going to happen. There's nothing you can do about that. There's nothing anyone can do about that. There's not a single person in the world who doesn't get rejected. So you need to be okay with that, and you have to understand that most of the time, people will reject your attempt, your offer, but not you. It is essential that you don't personalize the rejection, you don't internalize the rejection. Now, networking is a numbers game to some extent. The more you reach out, the more likely you are to build meaningful relationships, but then so are the rejections going to increase. You need to be aware of that. Embrace the process and every interaction, regardless of its outcome, right? Take it as a learning opportunity. And in most cases, not finding the time to network is not the real issue. It's these mental barriers, right? It is mostly our mindset that comes in the way. And these are manageable challenges. You have to make that decision. And it's a lot easier once you start. First, let's recognize the incredible power of networking. It's about building a network. How often have you heard stories of the power of networking? Somebody sharing that they found their dream job because of one connection, launched a successful business, got investments because they met someone on a flight, got big opportunity, right? These are testaments to the transformative power of networking, and a reminder that with the right approach, networking can open doors that nothing else can for you. Right? So every conversation, every meeting, every connection is a step forward. Remember, the most rewarding relationships often begin with the simple hello. So take the step, make the call, send the message. The possibilities that await are endless and limitless. and they will often surpass your expectation. Networking is about building a community, not just about a contact list. A community that supports you, challenges you, and grows with you. It's an investment that you make today that can yield lifetime of rewards, both professionally and personally. With the strategies that we've discussed, networking can definitely fit into any schedule, no matter how busy you may be. Thank you for joining me today in this journey. I hope that you feel equipped now and inspired to take your networking game forward, take small actions, consistent ones, and grow and build a network that is rewarding for you and for people that you have in it. So until next time, keep connecting, keep growing, and keep moving forward.